In part 8 of our series, Learning to Play Osprey Games Zona Alfa, we are going to discuss the results of ranged and melee combat. Those include misses, deflected hits, and successful hits. There are 3 possible outcomes for ranged attacks: a successful hit, a deflected hit, and a miss. Successful hits count as a wound. These are hits where a model failed to make its armor save. And as most models only have 1 wound, that model will go out of action. In a round of ranged combat, successful hits are always resolved first. Use a token of some type to mark a model if it has multiple wounds. That way your opponent can tell what kind of damage is on it. Now let's discuss deflected hits. These do not cause wounds. These are hits where the model's armor save was successful. However, just because you don't wound a model doesn't mean you don't impart some form of impact on it from a successful hit. To reflect a deflected hit, for every round of ranged combat with a deflected hit, the defender must make a will check to determine if the shots unnerved him. So the defender of a successful hit, let's say this individual successfully hits him, but his armor saves him. The defender will roll a 1d10 against their will stat for every round of ranged combat that resulted in a deflected hit, taking into account any modifiers from cover or special abilities. If the defender fails the will check, place a pinned counter beside the model. If the defender passes the will check, they can carry on as normal. Again, for every failed will check from a round of ranged combat with deflected hits, place 1 pin counter beside the defender. For multi-model units and or multi-wound models, this target number is further modified the number of wounds or casualties they have sustained. This number is a negative modifier to the defender's will stat. And in case of a miss, that does nothing. No physical damage, no pins, you're good to go. Now let's discuss making melee attacks on a pinned defender. So melee attacks on a pinned defender receive a +2 bonus to their combat ability for the first round only. So this individual makes a move, makes a melee attack against a pinned defender, and if this defender survives, they are considered to pop up. And they're fully alert now that this guy tried to boot stomp them, but they're still in base-to-base contact. But this brings up instances of what happens if you're doing a ranged attack against a pinned defender. Instead of walking up to him and stomping on him, you decide, well, I'll just shoot him while he's on the ground. So ranged attacks on a pinned defender suffer a -2 penalty to their combat ability versus the +2 bonus that you get for if you just walked up and stomped on him. And this is because the defender is making most of any and all terrain to stay low and out of sight. Now this penalty is cumulative with regular cover modifiers. So let's say this individual is pinned and there's an obstruction in between. He'd suffer the -2 for this guy being pinned, but he'd also suffer the -1 for the obstruction. Now, I don't know how you do, let's say the base is touching. He's close enough that you both agree. He'll also get the soft cover save instead of the obstruction modifier. So thank you for joining us in this episode of Learn to Play Zona Alfa, and we'll see you next time.